Tears welled up in her violet eyes as despair consumed her heart. The pain of humiliation weighed heavily on her chest, suffocating her spirit. Her thoughts echoed in silence. If I had to live such a humiliating life in front of others, I'd rather die than... The words trembled in her mind, her expression pale and broken, caught between fear and determination. Suddenly, a voice cut through the heavy air. "Hey!" The man in the suit shouted, his tone filled with urgency and alarm. His sharp eyes widened as he reached out toward her, realizing too late what she was about to do. Her long pink hair swayed like ribbons in the air as she moved, refusing to look back. Her body spun as if caught in a gust of wind, her dress fluttering with every motion. The man lunged forward, trying to grab her before disaster struck. Her face showed a mixture of fear and resolve. She was ready to throw everything away, even her own life, to escape the shame that haunted her. Then came a sharp motion. Bang! Her hair whipped through the air as her head moved violently. The scene blurred into chaos, and the sound of impact echoed across the room. Everything happened in an instant, leaving no time for second thoughts. Her body collapsed forward, her eyes shut tight, and her lips parted in a silent cry. Pain, confusion, and sorrow converged into one fleeting moment. The room fell still, the man frozen in shock as she fell. The girl who had chosen despair over disgrace. Shock flashed across both men's faces, the man in the suit and the older gentleman with glasses. Their eyes widened, the air between them heavy with disbelief. An unspoken alarm seemed to pass through them in that instant, their hearts skipping a beat as the gravity of the situation finally sank in. The man in the suit rushed forward, his expression filled with panic. He dropped to his knees beside the girl whose body now lay limp on the floor. "You," he whispered, his voice trembling as he lifted her head with trembling hands. Blood streaked down from a wound near her temple, staining her pale skin and her soft pink hair. He gently cradled her in his arms, afraid that even the smallest movement might hurt her further. Her delicate form rested against his chest, fragile, motionless, and frighteningly cold. His eyes reflected anguish and regret, as if he blamed himself for letting this happen right before his eyes. Her lips quivered faintly as she struggled to speak, her voice weak and fading. "I'd rather die than let others see." The words escaped her like a final breath, the echo of her earlier despair. His heart clenched at her confession, realizing too late the depth of her pain and humiliation. Her eyes fluttered closed as silence fell over the room. The man held her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheek in a desperate attempt to keep her awake. "Please, don't close your eyes," he whispered hoarsely, but her breathing had already slowed. He stayed frozen, his forehead resting against hers, consumed with guilt and helplessness as the reality of her suffering set in. As tension filled the air, a stern voice pierced through the room. A figure, likely a doctor or someone in authority, turned sharply, frustration evident in his tone. "What are you waiting for? Don't you even drive your—" He barked, his words sharp and accusing, creating an atmosphere thick with urgency. The person he was addressing stood frozen, the weight of the situation making them hesitate. The voice didn't waver, growing louder and more commanding. "Your car to here!" A young man, clearly agitated and dressed in a suit, glared with frustration. His intense expression showed a mix of desperation and anger as he shouted. His clenched jaw and furrowed brows suggested that time was of the essence. Every second mattered. Without waiting for a reply, he swiftly bent down and scooped a young woman into his arms. Her long, flowing pink hair draped down as she appeared unconscious or severely weakened. Her delicate frame was slumped, dressed in a soft pink dress that shimmered slightly even in the dim light. Another figure reached out, possibly trying to help her intervene, but the man holding her was focused, determined to get her out of there. The urgency had turned into action. The story opens with a serene morning sky, painted in hues of blue and soft white clouds drifting peacefully. The sunlight bathes the city below in a warm glow, signifying a calm yet promising start to the day. The towering skyscrapers reflect the sunlight, standing tall and proud like silent guardians of the city's heartbeat. This peaceful scenery sets the tone just before the story draws us into something more personal and emotional. Inside a spacious, sunlit hospital room overlooking the cityscape, a quiet scene unfolds. A girl with pink hair lies unconscious in a hospital bed, her face pale but calm. Her body is gently wrapped in a blue blanket, and an IV drip stands silently by her side. A man in a white coat, likely a doctor, stands at her bedside, his expression thoughtful and concerned. Across the room, another man dressed in a sharp black suit sits quietly on a couch, watching the girl from a distance. The atmosphere is still, filled with unspoken tension and worry, suggesting that something significant has just happened or is about to happen. In a reflective close-up, the man in the white coat is shown deep in thought. His glasses gleam under the light, partially obscuring his eyes, but his serious expression reveals the weight of his thoughts. Text surrounds him, narrating his inner monologue. Unexpectedly, her personality was so intense, although I was just joking, but she thought that it was real. Fortunately, her brain was only slightly injured. His words reveal regret and surprise. What he thought was a harmless joke turned into something far more serious. The girl had taken his words to heart, and it had affected her to the point of injury. His calm demeanor hides the guilt he carries for the unintended consequences of his actions. In a bright, high-rise office overlooking a bustling city, a sharply dressed man in a black suit sits calmly on a cream-colored couch. His cold, composed demeanor is matched only by his piercing gaze, which is directed towards someone standing off-panel. The room feels tense, heavy with the weight of his words. He speaks firmly, offering a disturbingly transactional suggestion. If you simply like her body, I can help you find some sexy girl and still virgin, you let her go. His tone implies power, control, and a complete detachment from any sense of emotional depth or morality. To him, people are replaceable, and feelings are negotiable, especially when it comes to women. It's clear he sees love, or perhaps lust, as nothing more than a solvable problem with the right replacement. The scene shifts slightly, revealing more of the setting. The suited man remains poised and calculated, holding a pen in his long fingers, exuding the air of someone in complete control. Sitting, or rather lying on the couch before him, is a young man with soft pink hair, dressed in blue, with bunny ears perched atop his head. The pink-haired boy lies still, seemingly unconscious or asleep, a bandage adorning his head, evidence of a recent injury. His peaceful, vulnerable expression contrasts starkly with the cold conversation happening around him. The contrast between their positions, the authoritative man upright and calculating, the pink-haired figure passive and fragile, sets the tone for a power dynamic riddled with complexity and unspoken conflict. The tension escalates as the suited man turns to another figure entering the room, a stylish man with silver hair and golden glasses, his sharp expression betraying annoyance or disbelief. The suited man, slightly incredulous, raises a brow and questions his counterpart in a biting tone. "Don't tell me that you like this white bunny?" His voice drips with sarcasm and perhaps a hint of jealousy or judgment. The term white bunny seems to refer to the pink-haired boy, likely a nickname derived from his bunny ears and delicate appearance. This is no longer just a conversation about attraction or possession. It's about the unexpected emotions that are beginning to surface in a situation originally built on something far more transactional. As tension filled the air of the room, a young man stood stiffly beside the hospital bed, fists slightly clenched, struggling to process what he had just heard. His eyes remained on the unconscious girl lying in the bed, her fragile frame wrapped in a thin blanket. "How is it possible?" he exclaimed, almost in disbelief. His voice trembled, not with fear, but with an odd mixture of frustration and sympathy. I just feel she's a bit pitiful," he admitted, his tone softer now, almost defeated. But before he could go on, a cold, mocking voice cut through the silence. A voice from someone who had no room in his heart for compassion. The voice belonged to a tall, imposing man with sharp, violet eyes and a chilling smile that never reached them. His presence alone commanded authority, and every word he spoke dripped with icy control. "She's the one that I used money to get," he said coldly, his eyes narrowing as he spoke. "You better not touch her." His voice was calm, but the threat beneath his words was crystal clear. He leaned in slightly, speaking with venomous confidence. "You know it. For those who want to betray me, I definitely won't forgive them easily." And with that, he let out a cold, derisive laugh, the kind that sends a shiver down one's spine. It was clear to him the girl wasn't a person, but a possession. Unable to stay silent any longer, another man stepped forward. He was younger, his silver-gray hair framing a face filled with concern and frustration. His golden-rimmed glasses reflected his unwavering gaze as he raised his voice, unwilling to hide his disagreement. "Boss," he said, firmly but respectfully, "I will never touch your people, but she is just a girl. She doesn't even know anything." His voice cracked slightly, a mix of anger and empathy rising within him. "You don't have to treat her so cruelly, right?" There was no denying the divide between the two men. One ruled by power and control, the other guided by reason and heart. As tension fills the room, a man with silver-gray hair and a sharp gaze turns his back on the others. His hand grips the door handle tightly, his posture straight and composed, but his words betray the storm within. "I won't bother you two anymore," he declares with finality. "I go first." Without waiting for a response, he prepares to leave, leaving behind a heavy silence and unspoken feelings. Behind him, another figure, partially visible, watches, unable to stop him, caught between shock and uncertainty. A moment of quiet. The focus shifts to a hanging IV drip, slowly releasing fluid into a line. The hospital room is still, almost sterile in its silence. This image, simple and still, speaks volumes. It's a symbol of someone fighting, recovering, or perhaps escaping through fragility. The muted light and the emptiness of the scene hint at something serious that just occurred or is about to unfold. It's the calm before or after the emotional storm. Now, beside a hospital bed, a man with dark, neatly styled hair and a stern expression stares down at a girl lying unconscious. His suit is sharp, his demeanor cold, but his thoughts reveal the truth. "Dare to use this method to deal with me?" he thinks, eyes narrowing with a mix of respect and frustration. She is so brave. There's a strange admiration in his internal monologue, as if he's just realized the strength of the girl who lies so vulnerable before him. What game has she played, and what price has she paid? In the quiet room of the hospital, a young woman lies motionless on the bed, her face pale beneath the soft glow of the overhead light. Her pink hair spreads out across the pillow, fragile like the fading petals of a flower.
Beside her stands a man dressed in a dark suit, his expression tense yet gentle. He slowly reaches out, his fingertips brushing her cheek as if afraid she might disappear. The rhythmic beeping of medical monitors fills the silence, amplifying the weight of the moment. Dark, endless water stretches into the distance, swallowing everything in its cold embrace. A small ripple forms, a desperate plea breaking through the void. "Do not! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!" The words echo as though coming from a place between life and death, a faint voice struggling to hold on to the world above. Her body thrashes beneath the surface, lungs burning as water floods in. "Cough! Cough!" She chokes and gasps, the sound muffled by the darkness closing in around her. Her pink hair floats like a halo, her face twisted in fear and pain. The word "struggling" hangs in the air, capturing the terror of someone fighting for every breath. Panic surges through her as her hands reach upward, fingers grasping at nothing but water. Her chest tightens, every movement slower than the last. Bubbles rise around her, breaking the surface somewhere far above. "Help me! Someone help me! Please!" The plea reverberates in the dark water, but no one answers. Her body drifts downward, swallowed by the shadows. The last fragments of her voice linger, faint and trembling. "Help me!" The darkness closes in, silent and merciless, as if the world itself is holding its breath.
In that instant, something powerful cuts through the darkness. Warmth. A hand reaches out, firm and unwavering, grasping hers tightly. The motion is urgent, pulling her back from the edge of despair. The world, which had felt so distant and cold, suddenly holds meaning again. The single word echoes like a promise in the air. Hold. In that grip, there is strength, hope, and the silent vow that she is not alone. Her trembling fingers, soaked and pale, break through the surface of the water, clutching desperately at the wooden edge. Droplets slide down her knuckles and splash back into the black current below. It's a fragile, fleeting grasp, but it's enough. Her nails scrape against the surface as she struggles to pull herself up, every muscle fighting against the weight dragging her down. The world above is so close, and she refuses to let go. With a gasping breath, she collapses onto the wet ground, coughing violently as water pours from her lips. Her body shudders, lungs burning, but air, sweet, precious air, fills them once more. Each breath is a painful victory. Her pink hair sticks to her face, heavy with water, but she doesn't care. She's alive. A trembling sigh escapes her, mingling with the sound of rippling water. The nightmare hasn't ended, but for this moment, she has been saved.